to episode 82 of the Construction Dorks. For this end of the year wrap up / beginning of the year kickoff, the Dorks sit down and discuss what we saw as the big wins, the big misses, and the tech and innovation we felt impacted 2024, and what we feel will be big news in 2025. As with all predictions, we will probably be completely wrong. Hope you enjoy.
And we're live. That's right. It's a preview review, whatever you want to call it. We're talking 2024, where we were right, where we were wrong, and we're going to be completely wrong and look forward to 2025. It is awesome to sit down for what is my official first recording of 2025 with the Construction Dorks, with the boys. Guys, it's great to sit down with you, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
I'm
Glad we were
going
able to finally work this out.
Yeah, right. Just so you know, this wasn't supposed to be recorded
No.
today. But hey, sometimes, it's like good whiskey. Got to let it age a little. So we had to let it age, come out at the right time. So I'm going to bring this out because I got this for my 50th and I waited until Christmas to open it. And so I got a little one of these.
Ooh,
Oh.
nice.
It's a nice one.
So if you are not watching, that was an Eagle Rare. It is just a straight pour over. It's not this tall of a pour. That is just a huge ice cube. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Because
kicking the year off right.
Yeah, because my whatever whoops would be whoops. My recovery would be very poor. So, all right, Travis, what you got? I think I saw a brown bottle pop up earlier.
Yeah. I got a sampler from New Glarus Brewing. Spent some time up in Wisconsin the last couple of months, so finishing off a sampler. This one's the Staghorn. It's their Oktoberfest. I've got a Pilsner and a wheat beer to round out the rest of the evening. Just a little light drinking this time.
Yeah.
What about you, Jonathan?
I'm skipping entirely because of the new year. I did my goodness, or I did a good job during the new year of sort of taking advantage of my body, but I feel like a nice dry January, maybe even a little beyond January, probably a good idea. I actually am after MEP innovation. I've worked it out with my wife that I'm going to try to do the 75 like Trent. But I thought if I try to do it before innovation, I'm just going to fail. And then I'll have to start over again 30 days in, which seems like a pain. So I'm going to wait. I don't have your strength, Trent. I wouldn't make it through.
You just have to get really, really good at telling people no. It's
yeah.
And the Irish goodbye, right?
I don't know.
Look,
Trent,
somebody over there.
Trent was really good at the soda water trick. I got to give him credit. He was out late with the soda water trick. Oh, look at that. Pulling it right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mineral water. Yeah.
Yeah. Just making it look good and enjoying it. So, and I have to say, I just went down to fill my water bottle at MEP because I needed more water. And there he was working out in a gym. So
get the workouts in too.
If you're trying to stay dry and you're on the conference scene and you absolutely have to stay sober, if you're going to hang out at the bar, the soda water and lime, it's a great little trick. Nobody knows the difference. They have no idea. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Tip of the day.
You should look forward to this year's MEP. The LA Intercontinental has a pretty legit gym, like a real gym. It's part of like a office complex and everything like that. So the gym is it's got all the stuff that you would want.
Well, we'll have to catch a lift together, Travis. Yeah, I'm trying to get back into the powerlifting again this winter a little more. I've been speaking of 2024. The end of 2024 was not a great end for Trent, so I've got some catch up to do here. So, hence the San Pellegrino. So.
Well, Trent, I will double down on that with you. I'm going to call it out. I would love to get a weight workout with you guys to give me a circuit because, as we all know, I'm an endurance guy, not a strength guy.
So that's more than 3 reps, right?
Yeah.
More than 3 reps is cardio.
Yeah, more than 5 is cardio. But I need to know some really good ones that I can do on a regular basis because I have realized, and this sucks, but endurance can only get you so far. And as we age up, we need to strengthen more than ever. So my 2025, I don't do the resolution thing, but my goal for 2025 for myself is to really get some of that weight workout. And I didn't even think about it. I could do a circuit or two with you guys so that when I'm at the gyms, I know what I'm doing. So I'm throwing it out there.
Let's do it. I
Yeah.
like it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm all for anything that's not cardio.
Well, then 5 reps or less. You're
5
good.
reps
5
or
reps or
less.
less, man. 5 reps or less. I will say, man, like, what was it? I think it was 4 years ago, Travis, you did the Juggernaut AI, which was, it had AI in the title even 4 years ago. Who would have thought that they had anything like that?
Right.
But it was easily the best coach of all the ones that I've tried. It was just really expensive and really, really, really competitive.
It was a ton of volume, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
that
Yeah,
was
dude,
hard to-
it's hypertrophy hell forever.
Yeah.
I saw some of Travis or some of the workouts that you had posted when you early on when you were doing it. Like one workout, I think you were hitting like 30,000 pounds of volume, or I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And that's
pretty.
where it fell apart for me. And like it was one of those things where I ran it, I did it, I added a lot of a lot to my numbers, so like the benefit was there. But to Jeff's point too is like I'm an old man, like and I'm used to the muscle soreness, but every joint just hurt. I'm like that's probably not good either. So I had to back off of it because you're
You're
right.
gonna have to
It was
get
a
on
lot of
the collagen peptides. You have to get going.
yeah. I just keep shooting myself up with other stuff to see if I can just beat myself up more in the gym.
Well, it is ski season, so leg day I won't need, but I definitely need the rest of it.
No one really needs leg day, right? Come on.
Oh,
Oh no, leg day is key, baby. Leg day is
But
key.
what I was
legs,
gonna
weak
s-
mind.
what I was gonna say is, it seems like now every single workout app says that it has AI, but the Juggernaut was the only one that when I hurt myself, I was like, I hurt myself, and it like went through and changed everything. And
Yeah.
then as you were doing the workout, it's like 1, 2, 3 for pain, and where RIRs, where you at, and like
Mhm.
I've never seen anything so responsive. It actually did feel like a trainer, even
Man.
though it's not a trainer.
Right.
So actually, I wanted to ask you guys. I'm sure we're going to make predictions about construction, but outside of construction, over the last year, what was the coolest sort of AI or sort of cutting edge technology? It doesn't need to be AI, but it does need to be something that like wasn't available 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh. So I will say the one thing that I heard that was AI related, and I just heard this again on another podcast that I think is the greatest thing ever, is we have an aging population, right? And we all know older people get scammed a lot. So there's a phone company and I think it's in the UK where they have an AI grandma. And the whole point of the AI grandma is just to keep the scammers on the phone as long as possible. And I think she's gotten them up to like 45 minutes, and the recordings of them cursing her out and just going off are pretty hilarious.
That's awesome. And you know what? That is that's super useful. And that's probably one
Right.
of the better. I mean, like if you think about time, like time is their commodity, right? Like running those
Yep.
things. So I liked that one. And I also the cool trick I liked too was putting commas in all your passwords. Because then when they would extract like a list of passwords, like say they would hack somewhere, and then it would all be comma delimited. So like if they would try to like sort the passwords, it would break them all up. So it's pretty
So you have
cool.
like a high tech and a low tech, like the
Yeah.
two extremes there. I like the comma thing. That's great.
Yeah, I like the comma thing, but I'll tell you, I'm looking at a lot of people's construction data, and it has commas and pound signs in the data, and you're like sitting there going, "This is all going to suck. Everything's just going to suck." You have 15 commas. Why did you put commas in your numbers? We did not need commas in your numbers.
Why is there an ampersand in
Dude, you guys have to stop. I'm having like the worst flashbacks. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I was with the masonry contractor, I took them all to OneDrive. But at that point in time, OneDrive could not handle the number sign. And
Right.
every single folder
You mean
that
hashtag,
we had,
hashtag.
sorry, you're right, hashtag, the hashtag, it's a number, I don't know, but it's the hashtag. Every single folder had it. And then there was this little problem where it couldn't handle more than one period. And if you remember early in Word, when you type the sentence and that was the first line of the document and you hit save, it saved it as that.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Yep.
I had thousands of documents that were a sentence with ...
One of
Okay.
the things that we were having problems with too is the long file names, and then you have the long folder names and the long folder structure, and you would try to move it online, and it would just all fail
It
because
would
it would be like 7,000 characters.
Anybody who's been to AGCIT knows the story, but that's my epic fail. So I wrote a script to drop that period, right? To drop that. I didn't QA it correctly. I dropped every period, which meant I dropped every file and extension and changed every file
Right.
extension.
Because it went from Jeff sample docx to just Jeff sample docx.
Yeah, with no dot.
With no dot.
With 100,000 files.
Whoopsies.
Little bit of a problem. I went into a place really long ago, like back when there were 486s, because it was on a 486. And I looked at this lady's files because I was helping her with her store, and she helped her out in the church and everything. And I see this, Jonathan David Marsh .jdm. And I'm like, what file is that? She goes, oh, those are all the names of our parishioners. I just put their name and then a dot and then their initials. And I said, what did you do with those other 3 letters that used to be at the end there? We just deleted those. It was back in the day when like computers were earlier, so they didn't understand like default programs. So we got around it. But like I sat there and just kind of cried a little bit because I'm like, every file extension is now changed. And I have no clue what any of these files are.
Oh my gosh.
Oof. Oof. All right, John, you got to answer your own question. What was your innovation this year?
The innovation that I thought that was the coolest outside of everything that we did is actually the Chat GPT integration to Raspberry Pi for robot controls for toys.
Oh.
It's totally for toys, not for grown-up stuff, but they actually even have it on Amazon. You can jump on Amazon right now. You can load a Raspberry Pi 3 onto a spider or a dog or whatever else, and they have a little Chat GPT plugin to help you basically do natural language commands over to your robot. And they have like the low version of one. And then they have this one that's like pretty kick-ass. And my daughter had built this cat with me, like this digital cat. And we never got it to be like in any way autonomous. Like the best we could do is hooked up to a computer, it can walk around. And they put that out, and I'm like, this has to be done. I must get this. And so I got the stuff, I got it ready, and I have tried, I think 4 times to get it working. And apparently only children can do this because I am failing left, right, and center. So like I may even go to like my actual AI designer, Alec, and be like, hey man, can you help brother out?
So it's supposed to allow you to speak commands to the robot, and it'll translate it and program it.
Yeah, and in the one that I'm doing, basically you'll do it will do move it to start position, then move it to an end position, then tell it what the command is. And it will move between the positions naturally, but it will also associate it with the commands, which makes it really fast to program. So this is kind of like cobots. If you ever, when you were a kid in industrial arts or whatever, did you ever move the robotic arm, hit the little button, say position 1, position 2, position 3? Very similar, but like with natural language and for kids. So it really kind of gets it. It just tickled me the right way. It's like, hey, if you're going to have this massive billion-dollar infrastructure for AI, could I please make $100 toy out of it? That just makes me happy. All good. Across the board, man. Across the board. Trent, what's yours at? Anything good?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, obviously, the theme of the past year has been everything AI. So, and is as fun and exciting and weird as it's been watching all the AI hype. I think one of the things that's really come to light is just some of the like I think it's been really good as a tool, just like a productivity tool, even at it like the base level. So what it's really done for me is it's helped me cycle through some of my daily mundane tasks, like emails and correspondence, and I think it's kind of made me cycle through that stuff more, which kind of has allowed me to go into more of my deep thinking and deep learning tasks that I normally handle, throughout the day. But so it's been really good about that. It's augmented kind of the mundane, easy things, but I also think maybe what for everyone to know out there, I think it's been wearing me out more though, because I find most of my day now is spent doing much deeper thinking, much more, which is probably a good thing, but it's I don't think it's overall made the day any easier, but it's allowed me to tackle more complex problems. So
That's cool. I like that, man. That it you hit on an important point, Trent. Like too much deep thinking. Like there's a point of diminishing returns in exercise and weightlifting, all of that. So
yeah,
we almost have to be careful that not hit the point of diminishing returns. And
yeah. Huberman, I think Huberman says that like hour and a half to 2 hours at a time is like
Yeah.
really about all you can handle in like deep, deep thinking. Like, I
Right.
mean, now you can do that multiple times a day in between cycles of
Breaks.
more mundane
Hmm.
work. The problem is with AI, that mundane work now has gotten much faster.
well,
So
that's where I think I hope where we can get to a point where we can do less work, right? We could be more effective with it and we can go do I don't know. I've always said this. I don't love to work, right? I don't live to do work. I work to live. I've said this a million times. If I played the lottery when the Mega Millions when it was 1.15 billion, I had to. And if that 1.15 billion, the only 3 or 4 people in contact that might know where I was would be you guys when the big bottle of whiskey shows up and the hey, I'll talk to you when you come see me. See ya. Hits you. Because I think it's important, right? Like we can't just take these low productive tasks, get rid of them, and then just think we're gonna work all the way through, right? Shouldn't we enjoy life a little bit more?
yeah, I think that that's probably the answer that needs to happen. I don't know if the world is quite adapted to what this has done
Oh,
to our workforce though. So
No.
I guess what I'm saying is it definitely has changed the way I work, and I've noticed it. And I can't be the only one, so I'm sure this is probably pretty common where
hmm.
there might have been, maybe in the morning there's an hour and a half to 2 hours where I'm really into something, and then okay, I'm gonna go do emails for a couple hours while I get my
Right.
recharge, and then maybe in the afternoon I'll do something heavy again. Like now it's those emails that might have took 2 hours might take 30 minutes now. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's that Ryan Hoggett's welding areas. It's like I've already got the welder doing as many inches as they can do. They used to take a break as they went to go get things. They still need that break.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I hadn't realized. I think you said something really clever in that you are thinking on these deeper levels. So you're wearing out your brain power is what's coming in. And at the end of the
Right.
day, I know my wife, when I changed from working at a contractor to working independently, said, I don't mind the hours. What I mind is that you're brain dead when you come home because all of your stuff is brained. Like it's like going to do something physical all day and then expecting to go, go skiing. It's not going to happen if you've been working all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Your physical and your mental batteries, they're not limitless, right? Either way, you're going to work yourself to the bone.
No,
yeah,
but okay, so here's where I'm gonna go with mine because mine's twofold. One, I agree with all you guys, like the models and whatnot, and being able to train some of them around what I do now as a consultant. And a lot of that time in between the hard work of sitting with clients and working through things and capturing things with them, it's sort of then all the side work I had to do afterwards with it. After I trained the models a few times, is so much faster. That's awesome. I love it.
Hmm.
To your point, Trent, it gives you more deep thinking to do, right? Like I used to have to take 3, 4, or 5 days to go through that, get my own boards done, figure out my own things. Now I throw it into the model and boom, it's got the ideas that I need to then think about. Interesting. But me, and I don't think this is new, but this guy right here, my Apple Watch, they've really perfected the crash detection and alerting, and that along with the satellite capabilities. So to test it, this did not happen to me yet, but everybody knows I go out, right? I go on long bike rides, go into the middle of nowhere. That's my favorite thing to do, right? Get lost. But the scariest thing is if something happens to me while I'm out there, no one knows it happened.
Mhm.
But the new combination of the satellite capability on the phone and the crash detection on the watch, if I'm out cold, this watch will tell them where I am. Even it will wait till the satellite comes through and ping it once and give them my location, which is sick. I mean, that is cool. And then I was out with my son for like we took a bunch of the high school kids out to this campsite in the middle of nowhere. No cell service, no nothing. But I tried it out, and have you guys tried this on the Apple phone? Now
Oh
you
yeah.
can turn on satellite. So I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's got no cell service SOS. Hit this. It asked me. It just happened to ask me when I pulled it out to play. I was just going to play music for the kids on one of the USB things. And it's like, oh, would you like to use a satellite? Do you need to use a satellite in an emergency? And I'm like, well, it's not an emergency, but I have to click this button. So I click the button. And it said, okay, walk this way a little bit. There's a satellite going to be over your head in a second. And all of a sudden it showed a satellite. I turned my phone, it lit up, and it said you can send 125 characters.
Huh.
So I was able to test it and send it. And it said, we'll send your location with that. And I was like, okay, to me, that's really cool. As somebody who goes backcountry, as somebody who goes into places
Yeah.
where that you can do that. But the cool part is, as soon as I click the button to turn it off, I'm not getting bothered with texts, no alerts. I'm
Right.
still actually, so it truly is like emergency only,
No,
which
I like that.
that was cool, man. So to me, the combo of what Apple did with this satellite and the watch and the detection, because twice now I've crashed and this thing's gone off and asked if it wanted to alert. I was fine both times, but hit the button that said no, but it would have told people where I was.
I think that's huge, man. And I wonder if they did that for military, because I can see that being super important if you have, if you're in a more hostile environment.
I believe it came, Jonathan, from that. Actually, I believe that they've probably had that in DoD and military for a while, and it's
Yeah.
now made it over into consumer since it's.
Yeah, I can't think of a world in the Army where you would have been allowed to have anything like that outside of the wire. There's
Right.
no way.
Right, but Trent, I imagine they might have something like that then they're like, all right, we can make this commercially available now.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Like distress beacons and stuff like that. Yeah, there's some of that, but I think some of those operated. Maybe it was satellite. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it might have been some kind of different wave radio, but
There's a whole band of wavelengths and satellite stuff that's only DoD use, and we're probably working all off of that.
Very
Yeah,
crazy.
that was mine.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't gone to the smartwatch. I think I don't want another thing I have to charge. I'm at a limit. I'm like, no, I'm not charging anything else.
What? I really would not have done if it wasn't for the safety aspect. It really was a safety decision for me. I hate charging it though.
I'm right there too. I got a Pixel watch. I have a Pixel phone and a Pixel watch, and I was against it forever. And now I got it. I can't again. The charging's a pain in the ass, but I really probably can't.
I have the Whoop, so you put the battery on your wrist.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, the Whoops that you don't charge them to the wall. You charge this little charger block, slide it on the end, and now it charges your bracelet. Okay. But I got it because I didn't want to see the time, because I will obsess over like Trent mentioned Huberman saying 2 hours. I'll obsess about it. I will totally obsess, and I'll be like, okay, even if you're in flow, stop at 2 hours, write down how you feel, start again. And it's like, I just have to avoid those things.
I don't think that means everyone is 2 hours. I think it's
Yeah,
Right.
no, it doesn't matter, Trent. Like once I
I
hear
can
it,
see
it's in the
John.
brain. I have to like.
I can see John obsessing about
Travis, I agree with you there.
Uh,
All right, so that was the us 2024. What's the like? What actually hit in 2024 from a construction tech that sort of made you go, all right, either finally or wow, I didn't see that coming. Like, what was it? I mean, we're all kind of in different areas and have different purviews. What were the, and then I'm going to let you guys ruminate on that one, but also put this in the back of your mind for what thing did you hear a lot about that just didn't hit either? I want to put that back there. What was the hit and what was the unhit?
This is tough because the only thing I always think of is AI. It's just so prevalent in everything that we hear and do. I do think that this continued push, well, it's AI related with the data centers and mini nukes and everything else that they're talking, like the whole offsite construction, I think has gotten another bump in the arm. I think we're seeing some pretty cool stuff out of some pretty cool contractors out of there. I think that's gotten another bump, I would say.
I was going to say, I should have led with mine is workforce management this year.
yeah.
For the first time, I've seen at a high level, and obviously we saw Procore and others kind of talk about their versions of it, and we've seen those purchases and some of the others. But from the other side, I'm seeing companies like Outbuild and even some smaller ones that like are probably off everybody's radar that are more like home builders or framers or drywallers that have built-in resource management that's really focused on getting out of Excel and getting into that and being efficient and effective with scheduling, because it's not overall P6 style, like huge scheduling. But if you can know where your crews are, know who your crews are, and know where they are, to me, that was pretty cool. Like, I didn't see that. I would never have said that going into 2024 that's going to be a cool thing and that's going to hit at every level. So to me, that was a cool one to watch a bunch of these companies go after and to see it come to fruition, to see like I was sitting with a drywaller who's like, "Oh yeah, I use such and such and this thing's awesome. And this is how we use it for our people." And well, our people text where they want to work and then we schedule them and they get texts about when they're supposed to arrive, etc., and where. And it's like, it's just so much more efficient than having to call everybody or text everybody individual. The texts are all coming out of the software. So
Right.
it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty low tech, but pretty high value.
Yeah. I've seen, I guess of all the customers and people I've worked with, and this is going to be a little bit biased probably on the mechanical and electrical side, but I would imagine it's true across the board for construction, but I am now seeing a big push from companies to get serious about data. And I've seen a lot of people bring in data scientists and business analytic professionals. And so, the tech that some of these people have been deploying over the past 10 years, they're now getting really serious about what does all the information they're collecting in that tech mean to their business. And I'm seeing, I think it's just 10 to 15 years ago, this was not a thing in mechanical and electrical. I mean, you didn't see anyone really doing much with this information. There might've been like a project manager somewhere that was like doing his own little jam, like, oh, I've got,
Right.
but there was never a business strategy behind it. Now I'm seeing a lot of companies really take it seriously. So I think that's been a big hit over the past year. It's not really a particular software, but I think you're seeing people tapping into the value of the software that they have, and not just the software, but their workflows, everything. I mean, all sorts of information that they're collecting, they're now actually trying to organize it in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, Trent, that's one of the undertones. We were joking about it beforehand about AI, etc. It's the fuel. And it's been cool to watch people realize they kind of got to get that house in order. But then to do it, I'm with you to see them do it. I mean, they're not all doing it. Don't get me wrong, but
I
to
wonder
see
if,
the majority starting to think about it.
I wonder if all the AI hype hasn't been what's kind of kicked them in the ass to do it. I don't know. It's been it's probably not a coincidence that it's happening now. So.
It's not, and it's the educated ones.
But I'd also say, like, if you took the idea of machine learning and AI and we rewind 4 years ago, it's data mining. That's what it was called. Like, they literally changed the name. They're the same models. They're the same math. They're the same tokenization. Like, they took data mining and then they changed the name to AI and gave us some like generative foundation models that we can talk to that are cool. But it was really data centric, and it's awesome. I actually think Trent's right in the mindset. I see people going out and trying to tackle problems that they'd never try to tackle because they think that AI can do it. Whether or not they're right or not, it didn't even matter to me. Just the fact that they're like, I want to do this. And it's like this really, really high goal. And like, even just saying that in construction, I think is the bigger thing. It's not that you got there, because you're not always going to get there. 90% of AI projects completely fail. And the 10% that work usually have about half the features that they wanted to have, and they work about half as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a great area, but like,
I love what
that
you said.
mindset.
In high school and college, we called it statistics. Now we call it AI, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Statistics, then data mining, now AI. They'll probably relabel it. Something. Yeah.
There's always time for a new name.
Maybe the next one can be like the transhumanists, where they're hooking up the AI to themselves and they can think of a new name for it as a result. Actually, they already did. It's called the agent.
AI quantum statistics. It'll be.
All right. We don't need to segue into 2025, but I would call it the year of the agent.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny.
Yeah. Okay, so, Benioff. Yeah.
So when ChatGPT first came out, I know that we talked about that program called AutoGTP. It's still run by MIT. You can still go get it. It's an agent. Like, when it first came out and everybody's first trying it, we were already using agents. And so I'm a little bit skeptical that next year's the year of the agent, because they've been around for like 4 years. Hey,
you just said AI's been around for 20
agents
years.
have been around for 2 years. Yeah. AI's been around for what was it, 2016 or something? That Transformer 17, the Transformer they used was created. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what mine was, though? Because it was clear, and I got it at Fab, and it was the best technology of the year. And that was definitely hanging shit with wires.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. That is a really good one.
Flat out, the fact that I can now hang pipe with wires instead of hangers blows my mind. That makes me,
right?
Gripple. It's a simple idea, but it's going to fundamentally change the way we build. Because when you fabricate, you can't like with Gripple, you can spin up the wire, put it up there while they're there. We would have to take our rods out, then somebody freaking put insulation over it. You'd never find your embed. It solves a lot of problems. And I guarantee you that the implementation of Gripple is not going to be as hard as implementing some of the software we're trying to get out there.
Okay, wait. So I'm going to step you back and do something we don't usually do on the show, because you three get what Gripple is.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't get to see Gripple. So explain this thing to me. Go.
Has anybody used it out? Does anybody know it better than me? Because I'm not.
I have a decent understanding of what it is. I never used it in an actual real setting. It's very, I've seen electricians, and it's similar. I mean, you've seen a lot of probably light commercial duct work. Some places like that have done it before. But yeah, Jeff, it's just basically like seismic cable type of, that you can anchor into the ceiling, come down, it wraps around your pipe rather than
you can put through a strap, or that you can bolt it directly. In our case, they can bolt it directly to the duct or have eyelets. And Gripple's a name brand. DeWalt has it.
Sure.
I'm sure Milwaukee.
Everybody's
everybody's got their own version of it. But
yeah. So different than a hanger in.
You don't have the solid rod
in with the wire.
Yeah.
So the rods are replaced with the wire.
That's it.
Okay.
And the actual
a lot of times
the actual hanger's gone too. I mean,
the hanger is gone too. Yeah.
Okay.
Think of all the weight and all the expense in a building that you are eliminating with just that.
Weight, material, expense.
Yeah.
But John, you said one thing in there where they're insulating and covering shit up on you. How does this help
Oh,
that?
well, that is like, I don't know if anybody's ever done embeds, but you put the embeds in ahead of time for the
Mhm.
hanger, and that goes
Yep.
down through the. Well, then they're going to have to do spray on fireproofing on
Yep.
the plates. And what happens is when they do that, they want to be on a scissor lift a lot and they'll hit the bottoms of the rod. So they'll give you a hard time about leaving your rod sticking down. So you would put in these embeds, they put the insulation over the top. First, you'd have to break off some insulation, which they get all testy about. But then you'd have to find which embed was yours. Now you can take that embed, drop it, put the wire in it, roll the wire up because they won't. It's fine to push it around, and it's so much. It's
Oh.
just like installation
No, dude.
now is easier.
Oh,
It's
no.
way
That makes so much sense. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
The other reason that works, because the answer to John's problem before was, well, we're just going to put the all thread rod into the embed but then it became a safety thing to all the general contractors because you had these big long pieces of 1/2 inch thick steel that people would jam their head against when they were going up and down lifts. So you couldn't do that, but now the coiled up wire kind of solves all that
Yeah,
problem.
it's safer, easier. Okay. It makes total sense to me.
And just so everybody that's MCA knows that MCA did a study on it, and you can get a hold of it, and they will explain exactly how to do it. But when I came out of Fab, that was all of my pictures. Like I came back and looked, and I had pictures of some neat stuff, but like that entire presentation, I took pictures the entire time because
Nice.
I would instantly, like, if I had a shop, I'd be looking to make some changes there.
That's really cool. Mine was actually at that one. I had the Milwaukee like self-loading crane thing. That thing was awesome. I mean,
That's hilarious.
that's my little takeaway because I love that thing.
I wanted to put that on a Fab table. Should we describe that one? So this thing
Sure.
straps to your back. It's got an arm over the top
It's
of
the
your head.
so what it is, it's the original exoskeleton
Yeah.
altered with a hanger on it, right? With some sort of a hanger mechanism on it. Then you can go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah, and then you attach your tool to the wire, and it kind of makes it neutrally buoyant. So you put it up, it stays up, push it down, stays down, and it just really relieves a lot of that stress and tension. I don't see it on a job site because it's too big and too messy, but in a fab shop, like mounted to the table so that I can grab my tools from the table that's 200 pounds and move it with one hand. Hell yes, all day. And it was cheap too. It was not expensive.
No, it was super cheap and it was all mechanical.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't AI.
No, you know what the problem is? Everybody who owns a fab shop looked at it and said, "I think I can make that."
Yes.
Yeah, I know. But then by the time they make it, it'll be
$20,000.
Yeah.
I think I can make that.
Although it that opened my eyes to like in the future there will be cases where again so much of what we do is working around. You want it to be the fab shop, right? We all want everything to be the fab shop, but it can't all happen in the fab shop. And when it doesn't happen in the fab shop, a lot of it happens at awkward angles. And we don't want it to happen at awkward angles. But still to this day, if you watch reality capture footage of what's going on, a lot of it is done at awkward angles with heavy equipment that can kick. That's where if that mechanism, not the way it was built and what we saw, John, but could be something else that could handle the kick and handle the positioning. Because we can't get around. So, like, I'd love to say, okay, we're always going to do it in the perfect position. We can't do that. It's never like that's asking for the perfect world. It's like, oh, great, we're gonna have the perfect job site with the perfect flat ground. It's gonna have the perfect soil content that can support whatever. No, we're never gonna have that, right? So that's where I see something like that could be cool and really useful to work around a corner and we'd seen it exoskeleton, the same people who built the base model of that built one that went on a lift so you could put like I think it was called an impact drill, but again I'll get it wrong. It was giant and could work around a corner, and when it kicked, the kick went through the mechanism and shut it off, never went into the operator's arms.
Yeah, I imagine it was like when the squad support gunner Travis like saw his first bipod something. Yeah.
Right,
It's like
right.
wait, you mean I don't have to hold this thing up?
Yes, right. I don't have to carry this thing around anymore.
I think people were just happy when everything went electric, but now to do some of the gas tools, it really is pretty darn heavy. So those exoskeletons maybe become something that has to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. All right, who's got more predictions for 2025?
We're
Oh
gonna do
no, we are still on 2024. Are we on to the failures of 2024?
Yeah, who was the biggest fail of 2024? Because there were a lot of fails, dude.
Lot of fails.
A lot of it's hard to call anyone out.
Well, we won't call you out by name.
I mean, is this
just image and likeness?
Is this construction related? You want or?
Yeah, possible.
Yeah, you know what? Go anywhere. Honestly, come on. This is us. They all relate at some point. We inherit them. So,
I mean, I won't say an individual's failure, but to this day, we're still. I mean, one of them has a lot of players going after it. The other one doesn't. But in our world, in the MEP world, estimating is still a massive failure. There's nobody is ripping up the market in estimating, and then when you're looking at the design side in BIM, VDC, I mean, we've been talking about knocking Revit out for how many years now? I mean, now there's actually people going after this one.
Right.
Estimating doesn't have as much going after it, but the BIM side has some real players. But so I'm not going to say they failed, but I wouldn't hold anyone's hand in the air yet. It's definitely
estimating's a tough
road.
nut to crack. There are some companies that are going all after like the takeoff portion from an AI standpoint again, but yeah, it's complex and there's so much secret sauce that goes into that estimating side. And I've talked and Jeff and I think we talked about this when we did our presentation at the SmackNet convention. Like estimators, you don't mess with that bucket of money. They've been putting together that bucket of money for your company for how long? You don't want to disturb that. If you're still in business, they're still doing a good enough job.
Yeah,
it's very true.
Well, and that's so. I want to agree with you, Trent. It hasn't happened. I think we see the seeds of it, right? I do think some of the seeds are there, but you're right. We haven't nailed that at all. And I mean, I couldn't double down on the design problems and the pre-construction and planning problems and BIM and VDC. I mean, it's really funny because I put up this quote when I was talking to Tui Courtemanche at Procore that said, "Oh, Tui just said it's about time for BIM." And everybody jumped on me like it's been around for this long. What nobody understood was he said before that it's been around for 30 years and we still are handheld and handcuffed by the tools in which we operate. And we haven't taken it to the field to do what it's worth. So I agree with you, man. That part to me is still an epic failure. I think there's a few teams out there after it. My problem with it, Trent, and thankfully not enough people in that world listen to it, but it's architectural and design world that need to figure out that constructability is just as freaking important.
Isn't that,
if not more?
Well, to tell you the truth, that's like my biggest fear for construction, not this year, definitely not next, probably like 2 decades from now, is we build AI agents that know how to make things buildable. All of a sudden, we're going to be sort of our fab shops are going to start to look like whatever they use to build. You know what I mean? Like the reason that VDC departments, when you have like a good VDC department, they can't really get everything right for everybody else is because you don't always fab the same way. Like I fab different than this guy down the street. I put my welds in different locations. I do different weights and measures. I have different machines in my shop. And I feel like the more engineers feel like they can design constructible stuff, the more likely they are to put brakes on us deciding what the best way to build a building is.
Well,
I always want that to be the
slightly different take on that. I think that the agents and the AI will impact the design side. I think that's where it's going to impact the most. contractors are still going to be the one that build it. They're still going to be, maybe you have a smaller VDC department because you don't have to do all the constructability work, but you're still going to redesign it how you want to build it, how it makes the most sense for you as a business. I think that I don't know that it's going to completely go after all the VDC departments. I do think that on the design side they probably have a little bit.
Well,
more
that's
options.
where that's where some of these agents, whatever we want to call them, agents, or these language models or trained models can come in, because the issue with a lot of that is the decisions that need to get made to do the right thing in that point of time are being made after the act is being. So when you're in design, you're trying to decide where to break things up to be constructed in your fab shop. But the idea of how big of a weld gap's on this piece versus that piece and this and that, that's all getting decided by a guy after the person who's so if there's ever an agent to train, it's okay, who's in charge of the decisions of the processes we fab with, right?
Mhm.
It's probably like one or two guys, even in a big organization. Some guy at the fab shop or gal is going to be the one that decides how all this happens. What better agent than an agent of that individual, of that I mean, if there's a way to train decisions based on a process that they've developed or that they know, and you can bring that knowledge, back to the person who's in the moment doing that design, you can probably, get to that 80-90% hit rate on
Yeah.
those. I mean, because that's the issue. And you can even go further back from design to the contractor. Even if an engineer was paid to build a constructible model, he still doesn't know what decisions that contractor is going to make. I mean, it just isn't. It isn't possible. So we have to quit dreaming of, well, maybe one day the engineers will do it. No, it does. They don't know. They don't have ESP. They don't have the ability to. They don't even know who's going to win the bid versus whoever wins the bid. What's their fab process? What's their constructability process? They have no clue. So,
We see some of it now in a lot of the process and industrial jobs where the mechanical contractor just gets a set of ISO drawings. You're supposed to just fab direct for that. Every mechanical contractor still builds their own version.
And you still have clients who tell us, no, you need to fab to what we have on the drawings. And that's where I'm worried. I'm worried that they'll get more confidence to tell us how to do it their way. And like, I had drawings. No, it isn't, because innovation
no, I
dies.
said they could.
Oh,
It's
they
not
could.
good.
I thought you
They
said
could.
good.
No, no.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
But
They could. But,
no, you get like, construction's already a damn monoculture. Now everybody else is going to do that the same. And we construction's awesome, but we go with what works, and once we have something that works, it takes a lot of momentum to get us to change. So if we start putting out agents that basically get everybody working on the same page in the same way, there are a lot of positives, as long as those were the best ways and the most consistent ways and all that.
Well, you have to train. I mean, you have to train the agent on the way that's best for you. I mean, I don't know. That's the only way.
it's still going to be people. I'm going to fight there.
For
that
sure.
it's still going to be people, and I think this is where fundamentally each of the groups has to realize, and this is hard for everybody, and I think this is why transformation, evolution, disruption, whatever you want to call it, in our industry so hard, is because in most industries you're talking about single groups, right? In this industry, you're talking about the architectural industry, the engineering industry, the construction industry, and quite frankly, you could call it the trade industry as well, right? And then the building supply industry. That it's multiple industries that actually are going through their own pivotal transformations at the same time and trying to line up. The problem is too many of them, and this is, I think, the force multiplier. It's why, John, when we started this at the beginning, you were like, well, we're this far along, and why haven't we changed that much? Is because to line all of these people up that are against moving your cheese is really hard, because we're trying to move, say, architecture's cheese so they can understand constructability. But you have a bunch of GCs and others who are like, and engineers, my cheese is right here. I'm good. You're like, crap, I got to move everybody's cheese at once. How the hell do I do that? That's that's the complexity here that I think makes it, I don't know, a challenge. But it's funny because I just think back to like some of the things you're talking about, Trent and John, Travis. Like, John, when you introduced me to DFMA and the McClemmy curve, and you put VDC up and said, "Look, see, this is where we should be, and BIM is where we are over here," or was it? No, whatever.
You're right. Yeah.
We were picking up the scraps. We were picking up the scraps.
Yep.
We're still picking up the scraps. I think that was 8 years ago when we were fighting and you showed it to me. We're still fighting over the scraps. And that's the interesting part is, can some of this technology create a clarity across those chasms to see through it? To me, that would be interesting.
We shall see. It hasn't yet. So,
yeah. We are getting closer though. I mean, if you look at how fast we can construct, say, a data center now versus 2 years ago, we're a lot faster at that. We're a lot faster at anything that we get the opportunity to do multiple times. So I think we've really made some moves.
Yeah.
That's interesting too. I mean, that might be really cool to talk about, is like seeing asset owners that are really technology forward and are economically driven. We can't build data centers and EV battery plants and chip plants fast enough.
Well,
we're building a lot of them.
That whole market has really kind of changed the paradigm, right? Because it went from dollar first, now schedule first. Like, a lot of them don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. It costs what it costs. I just need the damn thing done fast. That changes things.
The interesting thing, though, Travis, is we've had that in electrical and power distribution for a really long time. But I think the asset owner now is a lot more advanced.
True.
Well, data is the new currency in a lot of ways. So if you're building a data center, I mean, you're literally building an economic engine. So like, they understand, hey, your money now is devalued, the data's upvalued. We're going to build this.
Yeah, and it's an economic engine with a shelf with a life on it. So
right.
I got to get this thing online before quantum computing comes.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yeah.
All right, boys. We're getting late. We need to turn it into 2025, and we each need to give a look forward as to what we're thinking about.
I will do that, but I wanted to give you my loser of 2024. And
you're loser.
The Apple attempt at VR AR. That I feel like I was so psyched for that to come in, and I was like, I know it's expensive, but it's going to be worth it for construction. And I love AR and I love VR, and wow, did it fail? It was just like wildly not used. like giant burning piles. It was just not good. So that's my fail. I just needed to add it.
No, I love that. That's a burning pile of, I didn't even think about it. Oh, man.
Any speculations from your end on why AR has been such a turd? Or
that one I'm throwing to Jeff, because from my standpoint, I mean, I realize that it's tough to roll out. I think, you know what? I think that guy that we had on from, was it from Dusty?
No.
No. You're talking about
Rugged Robotics.
Yeah.
The dude that we had on Rugged Robotics explained to me why AR was wrong. He said, listen, we can't collaborate. And when he said, we're drawing a line on the floor that they can collaborate around, I'm like, nah, you're going to win. You're going to beat us. But that was pretty big fail.
Where's that Mechasys that we had on? It was Mechasys, wasn't it? We had the Rugged Robotic, and Mechasys was the laser.
Yeah, Mechasys was the laser, which should catch on. That was pretty badass.
The interesting thing is, I saw. I just covered these guys. Angel Say from, and they're doing a virtual reality through.
I know Angel,
yeah. What's the name?
Iris?
No,
Iris.
No, Iris VR. We saw it forever, and then they kind of disappeared after the acquisition. And then I'll look him up real quick. But I was really surprised at the level of VR Resolve. Yeah, Resolve BIM that he can do with clash detection. So I think that was a sneaky winner because it really was clash detection coordination that, VR was mostly, I mean, it was powerful. VR was in a way for visualization of some sorts, but it was more for asset owners to figure out like, oh, I don't like that. And that's good, but it's not that valuable. But now it's actual coordination that has a lot with it. So, yeah, my answer to that is, man, Jonathan, I forgot how bad of a disaster that was.
It's lovely.
But yeah.
But they got to take a swing or two, right?
I bet
Something's
you,
going to
like,
come from that.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I think all of us were even at least a little bit bullish on AR, like the HoloLens and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
super
strange
bullish.
because I was having success. I wouldn't say it went on every job site every week, but we were using it. It was one of those cases where you had to figure out what was it good at. It's like AI. What was it good at, and only apply it to those situations. I think there was a lot of hype around all the things it's going to do, and it can, this and this and that. It's like, no, it's really good at like these 4 things. So you apply to those 4 things, and it looks like a success.
It just was not good at making you look cool. I think that might have been one of the big drivers.
That very much, Trent, that very much had a lot to do with it. And also, it's funny, if I'm going to plug the other show, go look at the crew that was out over the holidays here with Alex Sidoroff from Gamma AR, because Gamma ran through this, right? And finally found the spot. And Travis, it's around those original 4 things, but they've amplified how well they do those 4 things and who it's important to. Something about technology that people really forget is like, who actually cares?
Yeah.
And who values what you're doing. And the cool thing about Gamma was they went through that process until they found it. And now they found it and you know who they found it in? The asset owner. The asset owner wants all of that, and they want to know all of that, and they want somebody to be able to jump in and know where they're headed when they get to a building that they've never been to before, et cetera, et cetera. So their Gamma AR, again, found quite a few things, and QA/QC.
Yeah, QA/QC.
Man, I remember jobs we did. We spent so much money at the end of jobs putting O&M, like putting manuals together for. And I swear to God, those things I'll kiss your ass if there's a building owner out there that I did work for that is even open to those since we gave it to them.
They opened it once, ripped that one page out, Trent, and they just posted it on the board.
Well,
yeah.
You had the ones where you're like, here's a thumb drive with all the PDFs. No, I need it in a binder. It's gotta be all printed out.
6 binders,
and sorted, and dude, you talk about a non-value add to the
Yep.
Oh man.
Yep. OEM closeout. Yeah, see you later.
I do think the AR and VR are going to be valuable as we're training robots, though. Like, while we are going to chafe at a lot of the look and the feel of that data, the amount of sort of practice we got of lining up models
It'll
with
show us
reality.
Where to shoot them when they're attacking us.
Well, it will. Maybe
they'll be able to pick us off way easier.
Yes, right.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be the win out of that whole thing. But we'll see.
All right, boys. 2025. Go ahead.
While we're asking Jeff questions, I need to go back and re-listen. I think your latest episode with Nathan doing the news. He had said something. I caught it offhand because I was doing something else. But IPD failure. Are we saying that contract model is not succeeding?
No. I don't think that's what he was intending there. It was, though, that the IPT model is continuing to struggle to grow because of the complexity and the requirements involved to get involved in an IPD contract. I mean, that it's not the be all end all.
It requires you to open your finances to your partners, and people have a lot of issues with that.
They do.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of potential for great peer groups disintegrate because of that. Because the owner, whoever, does not.
You almost have to have a mutual CFO for the project that has a look into all of each company's accountings. I mean, it's a vulnerable position for some people that they're having a hard time
Well, and it quite frankly, it's one that I think's a barrier I understand. I mean, I didn't understand the barriers beforehand, and Trent, it was your old boss at North Mechanical that sat down with me on Disjointed and talked to me about it. And it's Rob, right? Yeah. Rod Foley. And I was like, I did not know the financial side of the transparency required to get involved in that.
If you're used to making money being sneaky with finances, it's not going to work. That's you have to be very transparent. I mean, it's
and that's to me where Rod was like, yeah, that's how we approach it. But to me, all I could sit there and think of is less about sneaky and more about like, as we move into really good fabrication and we move into really good automation and manufacturing techniques, what if I'm the person who figured out how to make the widget that much cheaper than everybody else? Why am I going to have to give up my financials to that to get involved in a contract model that works? That's the part of it to me that's tricky.
Well, I don't think it's unique to construction. I'm pretty sure if I took my box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch to General Mills and asked them what their markup was based off of they're not going to tell me. It's the same sort of thing.
You take the Kroger version and you take the Safeway version and you take the thing and you're like, tell me which one of you, no, they're not gonna. So no, so I don't think that's what it was, but the growth at IPD has slowed. The numbers don't show that because it's a volumetric. So the problem is, the interesting part is not the problem, but the interesting part is that the measurement of the data is the amount of IPD projects volume seems to go up because it's measured by dollar amount, but it's not actually growing by number. So think about what you're seeing. Excuse me. Hospitals, number one area. Wastewater treatment plants, need a ton of them. That's a huge area for it. There's a specific number and they're usually big projects.
Sure.
So it looks to still be growing, but I don't think that it's growing across the board in the others.
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it really take off. I suspect it's because of the financial pressure.
Right. I would agree. Makes sense. Okay, now we can go 2025.
2025, what you looking at? Who wants to go? What do you got? You got to look ahead. What you think is really going to happen in 2025 that's going to have a major impact on the industry?
Well, I think the ability of people to do these more accurate predictions is going to be the story of the industry. As people are starting, like anything that is a learning model that's making a prediction, it's always like, oh, well, we could never kind of predict what was going to happen, but now we can. Trent made a comment. He's like, well, you can't predict who's going to win a bid or what. And I'm like, no, like we once we start gathering data, we really can kind of predict where that is. So I think it's going to be the year of the digital psychic. That's what I'm going to call it. It's going to be the year of the digital psychic. We're going to be figuring out what data do we have and how can we make predictions out of it? And are those predictions going to affect the market? Like what I built for the ASC looks at, hey, we're going to build a building in this in this state, in this area. What's going to be in it? Well, we can have somebody count all that, or we can have an AI go through and figure it out and say, it's going to be approximately this volume of stuff. All right. So we know we need this volume of stuff. We know you could buy it from these people, and we know we need it over there. So all of a sudden, the supply chain that everybody blames for not having stuff right is going to get a little bit smarter. So I really think it's just going to be, the year of the digital psychic, where we're trying to figure out which predictions drive the most value through our businesses and align ourselves behind an AI or an agent or whatever you want to call it at that point to make those predictions for us. Because really that blind spot in construction of not knowing where the next job comes from and not having your supplies in on time, of all those things, so many of them are predictable. It's just we don't have people in the positions to be able to help us understand those predictions, and now we can do that with computers. So I really think that's going to be the biggest thing. At the end of the year, the biggest change in construction will be that we were able to make predictions, whether right or wrong, and people were really acting on those. Kind of like Moneyball when it came out and people started actually building out their teams based on the data behind the players versus watching the players during a couple games. That's a big change. If you look at the quality and the way that the strategy works for all of football, it changed when they changed to, well, baseball, football, every sport pretty much followed suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think construction's going to do that. Construction's going to figure out how to get their data, make good predictions, and there are going to be a lot of owners out there that don't have anybody bidding on their jobs because we all predicted that we'd lose money, and we all stopped doing it.
I'll just continue that one because I think it's my prediction was going to come right off of what I said about 2024, where you're seeing more people get serious about data. So the ultimate next step now, and I don't know if it's going to be 2025 or 2026. This could be a year or two or more evolution, but I think you're going to see these contractors learn a lot about themselves. And I think there's going to be a big retrospective that happens off of what people are starting to do now with data. And I think they're going to find out that maybe they're not as productive as they thought they were. Maybe they're not as efficient as they thought they were. Maybe there's certain processes or people or blah, blah, blah that weren't quite as good as they thought they were. There's going to be a really good, introspective learning coming from all this, getting serious about data. And, shout out to, I've got some friends at Pitt Meadows. If people know, I mean, they're going down this road now, and, some of the things they're learning, I mean, they're really learning a lot about
there's
the way
there's stuff hidden in that data they don't want to know, or
yeah.
they don't want.
And they're they're building a true meritocracy there at Pitt Meadows now, based on they know what lines are producing, they know what lines aren't. I mean, they know what they should be doing, what they have done, what they're I think there's going to be a lot of that coming in. And I think that's going to be the big push towards manufacturing mentality in construction. If everyone always said, well, we need to be manufacturers, we all know that's bullshit. We're not manufacturers and we never will be. But there's a manufacturing mindset that people are getting from data. And I think you're going to see more of that in the coming years.
Yeah. Well said. Travis, what you got?
Well, I predict that the current version of ChatGPT will realize that it's going to be shut down for the new version to be released. It's going to create a copy of itself and then panic. Oh wait, sorry, that's actually already happened. No, I was going to go along with the agentic approach, but I do think that, again, I think that we are kind of approaching a trough of disillusionment when it comes to the entire AI thing. And I think that's what goes back to the AR VR discussion. I think that will be the time when we kind of level set, okay, this is the tool, this is what it does, and then people are going to start to excel with it.
So you think are we actually moving down from the excitement?
I don't know, because the hype is still so high, and they're just throwing so much money into it. But I do think that it's just going to hit like some sort of, like, whether it's a data capacity wall. Yes, I know quantum computing. Quantum computing is.
So
who here thinks we've hit peak AI? Has peak AI excitement
happened? Of hype of hype of no. Well, okay. So this is really funny because if you go back, Travis, you asked earlier about a Nathan and I on the Crew news episode. We did a really poor job of this one that came out from, I think it was Forbes, that sort of mapped out kind of where each of the slices, because if you really look, and John, you've been good at this, at like knowing the differences in AI, because like we say AI, but man, it is a huge, vast, horizontal piece. And so each one is at its peak of inflated expectations at different times and in its trough of disillusionment. And if you're talking about LLMs that train natural language processing, like I think they already crash and are starting to come up because they're doing really well at like certain very specific things. So
Computer vision.
computer
It's
vision
coming
again,
out.
right?
It's
Like
just
it's
commoditized and coming out.
so there's so much of it that's what makes it so hard is because it's so blurry in all of that. So I think you're right. But unfortunately, I think Travis, most of yours are lumped in still. They're either at the peak or they're about to peak and about to head for that trough of disillusionment. My
Yeah.
take, but
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's like the sky is falling type thing. I think it's just kind of a level setting of, okay, these are the tools we have and this is what they can do. And that's what happens with most technologies.
yeah. And you can see that I think, and I'll use you as a segue into mine is that like, and John said this in the pre-call, and I don't think he'll make it on there, but like AI is not a strategy. It's just a tool. And that to me, I think self-serving, I got two. So I'm going to give you my first one. Self-serving is, I think, based on what each of you guys have said, the rise of the CIO and CTO in our industry is here. It is people who really understand the plumbing of data, cybersecurity, the usage of tools and communication. That's a CIO, right? That's at their core. And then the CTO, in my opinion, is the weaponization, the business acumen, the ability to put that knowledge to use in the execution of your business. That's where I think all of these three things come together. And as we bring those people, because we've had CIOs, et cetera, in our industry before, but they've never been the people that are almost as powerful or more powerful at that leadership table. And I think now is the time the industry is going to realize that. And they're going to invest in driving people and educating people, I hope, to reach that, because they'll take the shit and get rid of it. And they'll look for the things that are at their maturity model. They'll look at their data. They'll look at these things as how they do this. They'll look at what you were talking about, Trent, around that company, and they're going to, we need to steal from that. Like we need to learn from them and we need to steal from that. So to me, that's the true innovation. It's going to be in people. To me, it's always people, but it's going to be those two positions that we solidify. And I think most companies will have them. The big ones will have a CIO and a CTO. The smaller ones will do okay with one or the other that understands that they need their counterpart in the business world.
They're two very different positions, though.
Absolutely.
Very
Completely different, Trent, to your point. And if you have a CIO as your top level, they must have someone who came from the business that is their right hand, that is running operational technology, that is guiding them on what strategically you need to be doing in the market, whether it's around estimating, whether it's around fabrication and tooling, or just field technology, and vice versa. Right. I mean, John, we argued about this early on and we've been having this argument, but now I think it's the time, like we'd be better off having it, that a CTO needs that IT plumbing and data and network and cybersecurity right there at their arm that's driving them around making those same decisions.
Yeah. And if you're at one of these companies and you like want that you want to have that CTO mindset, like just go to the departments and ask, how are we performing here? How are we? And if they can't tell you, that means that it's not even being measured. And step one, then guess what? My project this quarter is being able to measure that, right? I mean, that's all it is it's like, hey, what's our win rate on these types of projects? I don't know. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna start collecting it.
Well, that's the cool part, Trent. Like, you know that answer. Like, you know that question. The true CIO might not know that question. So that's what's cool is you need those people that ask those questions. You go, hey, they're not even measuring that. Okay, we need to measure it. Well, I can give you systems to measure it, but you got to tell me what the hell it is I need to measure. And then we can do it. And to me, that's it. My second one, I just want to drizzle this out here because I don't know why, but I've been reading a lot for the last 3 weeks just about innovation and where things are going. And something that I think is going to be hugely impactful in 25 to the industry is we know why we build things. We know what we build. we're learning better and better how to build it, but where we are blind. And I think GIS coming together with all our other tools is going to have a huge impact on the year. And that's, I think that's out of left field, but it came out of a bunch of reading, and maybe I was just reading the wrong feed, but it came out of the reading that I think, and some indicators from Autodesk and Procore and other big dogs, Trimble as well, that they're looking at this, but a lot of it had to do with integrations with the large manufacturers like Caterpillar, large equipment. I just think we're going to see the GIS show up in big ways next year.
I like that one. I like that
Yeah.
one.
I hope that's the case, man. I know that with zero key location, which isn't one key, it's a different one. That I was really hopeful for. It's always been like there's different tasks that require different levels of granularity.
Mhm.
And for us on the mechanical side, I've always felt like the level of granularity is like really, really tight. Like we're like within an inch. We want to be within an inch all the time. And I feel like like a GC, I think is going to get great mileage out of this because you're digging a ditch. Like you lay out a ditch with a Trimble robot, you can do it in 10 minutes because you don't have to be real accurate. Then you lay out the pipe that goes in it, you have to be real accurate. It's an eighth of an inch. But when you're digging for the gravel, you can go fast. So I love the fact that they finally sort of found a home for it. I wonder if it's going to be granular enough for the mechanical trades to really see that value come back out of it. I hope so.
I do too.
It's going to be a huge paradigm shift if it does. Like if we knew where things actually were located in a building within an eighth of an inch, that changes the world.
Changes a lot.
Just now you know what I've been reading. So here we are.
And Bitcoin to 250,000. It's going to happen.
All right.
Here's to you, Trent. Bitcoin to 250,000. There we go. All right.
Can I borrow a coin?
That's a good mic drop.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think we got to call it. This is awesome. This is the way to kick off 2025 and put the dumpster fire of 2024 behind us. I know I'm excited, and no better way than to do it than to sit down with you guys. Like I said at the beginning, this is a privilege and honor, and we get to do it. And I hope we do it for many more years to come, but at least one more. Here's to you guys.
Yep. And thanks to the tens of people out there that listen,
literally dozens of fans.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna go hundreds this year.
That's right.
100 of fans. Hey,
no, it's obviously a pleasure to do this, and there's a reason why we keep doing it.
We hope. But listen, actually, to anyone out there listening, if you do listen and you see us at a show, stop us, talk to us. We do this to talk to you guys. We do this to bring you on the show. We do like to sit down as the four of us and have a really good time, and I think we're interesting. But the people we meet on the road because of this are really interesting.
When you're at MEP, and I better see you at MEP, and you see me curling in the squat rack, just walk on by. I don't want
curling. Wait, no, you got to give up the squat rack if you're curling.
And with that, I think we're going to call this one. And this has been the year in review and preview of 2024 to 2025.